All right, I'm going to do a short video here about install of these Chinese dual fuel carburetors sold on Amazon and eBay. I've seen a lot of pretty good reviews on them, even though they come with no instructions, which is not unusual for Chinese. This is sold as kind of a replacement, not an upgrade kit. So they're not going to give you really any help whatsoever on how to install it. But it's really not too difficult. I'm going to point out a few things about this carburetor, what you're looking at. This is for a Honda GX270. It's important that you get the right carburetor to fit the right Honda or Honda clone engine, so it'll fit the spread on the mounting bolts and the proper bore of the carburetor. This here is the LP or CN natural gas diaphragm that regulates the amount of flow into the carburetor. This here is a primer button, so you need to depress that for about 1 second before starting the engine. That allows some gas to flow up into the carburetor, because the way this regulator is designed, if there's no vacuum draw through the carburetor, no fuel is going to come through this regulator. So that's kind of a neat thing. You've got to push this little primer in. This here is your little control knob between what type of gas you're going to run. You can't really see it on there, but it's marked LP or natural gas, and there's also an on at the top and off to the side. So you can, right now I've got it set LP, over here is natural gas, and any of these others pointing up would put it in the off position. This is where your LP or natural gas would connect. This is a float bowl drain for if you're running gasoline in this carburetor, which I'm going to do eventually. I'm going to run both fuels. A lot of people just hook them up for propane and forget about it. But I'm going to try to do both, because you can get more run time on 5 gallons of gas than you can 5 gallons of propane. But you do not want to draw fuel, gasoline, and propane into the carburetor at the same time. So this here is electric fuel shutoff. These wires would need to be, if I was running gasoline, these two wires would need to be connected to 12 volts when the engine is to run. So open up this solenoid to allow fuel to reach up into the venturi of the carburetor. Otherwise, with no power here, it's going to close this and no fuel can run, no gasoline can run up through there. Because you don't want both at the same time. So you would turn off you'll have to add a little switch of some sort if your generator doesn't have a source for that, which I don't think most do have that. So you'd have to hook up some kind of switch. And then you'd want to drain the float bowl here. That keeps from having old stagnant gas in the carburetor. I kind of like that idea. That's a pretty good idea even for a regular gasoline carburetor. Here's where your regular gasoline will connect to, goes into the carburetor down through the float and needle valve, and to fill the bowl. I've got it capped right now because I'm not going to do the gasoline hookup part right away. I'm going to eventually get to that. My primary thing right now is get this generator running on LP, so it'll be much easier to start in the winter. Trying to start a generator with old fuel in it and it's 25 degrees outside, it's not very easy to get it running. I'm hoping that propane will make it much easier to get it to run in the winter. And I'll still set it up for gasoline eventually. So that kind of points out the different features of this carburetor. A lot of good high reviews on Amazon about these, even though they come with no instructions. So I'm hoping it should be a pretty easy install, even without the instructions. And the sellers, I mean, they're Chinese and they don't. They're in the business of selling, not engineering really for you. So you got to do some figuring things out on your own, how to make it work. But this is step one, and I'm going to start another video following up with this segment showing the install.